Alright, welcome. This is a review on how to do a close reading. I am on paragraph number 25 of Letter from Birmingham Jail on page 12. Now, we've already read this to get the flow of it, so if you need to right now, pause the video and reread through it. Right now, I'm going to go through and tell you the steps to do this close reading, or what we've been working on in class. So the first thing that we need to do is highlight, circle, or underline important words or phrases. One of the things that I see in this, looking at it already, is the word zeitgeist. It's a German word. It's also italicized. Whenever you see an italicized word, most likely it's going to be important. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to put a comment on it. Now, when you're in your paper, on actual paper, you're going to want to highlight it and then write above or right to the side of it in the margins. So I looked up zeitgeist, and zeitgeist basically means defining spirit or mood. And what zeitgeist is referring to is the thing that has happened to the American Negro. He has been reminded that he has this birthright of freedom, that he has that right to freedom, just like everyone else should have that right to freedom. So another thing that caught my attention was this idea of cosmic urgency. So I go ahead and highlight both cosmic and urgency. When I think of cosmic, I think of space, so I think of the speed of light. So I think that what this means is that the African American population is moving at the speed of light to get their freedom. And they're moving towards the promised land, which is another thing I would highlight. The promised land is actually an allusion to the Old Testament. Now going on, I see this idea of being repressed. You may have repressed emotions, you may have repressed memories. Repressed basically means that you can't express your emotions. So the African American population hasn't been able to express how they really feel to this point. So it goes on to say, if his repressed emotions do not come out in these non-violent ways, they will come out in ominous expressions of violence. I took this whole part, this ominous expressions of violence, to mean that the world should rather see non-violence from this group than violence. So I'd go ahead and highlight that ominous expressions of violence and say off to the side that the world should rather see non-violence than violence. And I don't blame them if you consider what's been going on in places like Ferguson, as this is still going on. So I'll move on from there, that it is a fact of history. That suggests that this has happened before. So it has already happened before this time in Martin Luther King's life. It's bound to happen again, because history tends to repeat itself. I like what he says here. So I have not said to my people. Notice he has not said to his people that they should get rid of their discontentment. He's basically telling them to fight for it. He's not stopping it. He's telling them to fight for it, but keep up with the nonviolent ways. Now, the last thing that you want to do is think about what the whole gist of this entire paragraph is. What is the point? And when I say that, I mean you are looking at what it means as a whole. And you're going to summarize it in one or two sentences. So what I had for what this whole thing means is African Americans have come to desire freedom and are striving for it in a nonviolent way, yet what they are doing in peace is being seen as extreme. And I say that because at the end, MLK says now this approach is being dismissed as extremist because the clergymen have said that it's being seen as extremist, when in fact it is actually completely nonviolent, as they are just doing sit-ins and freedom rides. So again, this is what you need to do with the idea of this close reading. You need to take and look at each paragraph individually. If you need to reread, you need to reread and get the flow once again to understand what is actually happening in this particular paragraph. Once you do that, you need to highlight, circle, or underline important words or phrases. Don't think that anything is right or wrong. It is whatever you feel needs to be highlighted and said something about. There's no right or wrong way to do this close reading. Simply, what I have here are things that stuck out to me.